Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Thank you very much, Venkatesh Prasad and Indu, both of you who brought in the bhava of devotion. We are now studying the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana, where after the Divya Chakshu is given to Arjuna, he first sees the whole world as Bhagwan and has a sense of wonderment. And then when Krishna shows his true form, which is Shrishti, Sthiti and Laya, when he sees so much of destruction, a lot of fear comes in. And then finally, it brings in the bhava of devotion. We are still in those verses where Arjuna is going through a lot of fearful experiences. The opening verse, Dr. Komal is still held up in hospital. Dr. Radha will be doing this verse. Verse 30, please. Radha.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I will straight go to the word meaning. Leli here say, you are licking. Grasamana is devouring. Samanta on all sides. Lokan, the worlds. Samagran, all. Vadanai with mouths. Jwaladibhi, blazing. Tejobi, effulgence. Apurya, filled with Jagat, that is universe. Samagram, all. Bhasa is race. Tava is your. Ugra is the fierce. Pratapant is scorching. So, this is a very fierce Vishwarupa Darshana, the divine universal form, which is in a very Ugra Rupa. Krishna is addressed here as Vishnu, who pervades the entire universe. This verse literally means that with the fierce tongues, you are licking up the hosts of beings from all the sides and devouring them with your blazing mouths. And you are scorching the entire universe with the all-pervading rays of your effulgence. When you read the verse itself, it looks very scary. We don't know how Arjuna would have felt in the battlefield. That's why probably he falls at the feet of the Lord and says, please bring back your peaceful form, which we will see in the next verse. This is a very Ugra Rupa, very ferocious and not at all pleasant. This is a Kala Swarupa of the Lord, the time principle. Here I am reminded of the Mother Kali. Mother Kali is also very depicted as a very, very fierce form with flowing hair, black color, and the tongue out. The tongue is in red color. And she's wearing garland of skulls. Garland depicts the endlessness, no beginning, no end. And these skulls are all of the Brahmas of all the Kalpas. That is the extent of time, which is beyond our imagination. So many Brahmas she is wearing around her neck as garland. And there are so many arms around her waist, which she has made into a skirt, and she is wearing this. And her tongue has a very red color, depicting that it is a fire, and this fire has got all-consuming hunger. She's devouring everything inside her. So this is so similar to what Krishna shows Arjuna in the battlefield. Time swallows everything. Yesterday is gone, yesterday has been swallowed, the last moment has been swallowed, and this moment again will go into the Mahakala. Like Arjuna, all of us are identified with our body-mind complex, and everything is upheld in our attachment and in our imagination. The whole world, the time, the space, everything exists in our imagination. We can never understand time as long as we are identified with this body. Because for us, time is a very linear concept. There is a beginning, there is an end. When I'm born, the time begins, and when I die, the time ends. So I only know that span of 60 years or 70 years that I exist on this earth. But what happens to the beginningless and endless time, the universal time? How do we know that? It is impossible for humans who are identified with the bodies to know the time as such. That is why Divya Chakshu, or the Jnana, is given by the Sri Krishna to Arjuna to see him in all the forms. The universal time, there are the past, the present, and the future, all is merged into one. It is not in a linear pattern as we understand it here. But the creation, the sustenance, and the dissolution aspects of the Lord, we understand them in a linear pattern as one after the other. And there are three deities who are looking into all the functions of these three things. But in the universal concept, this is a big principle, and all three activities are the different dimensions of the same principle. Now, in this verse, what it means to sadhakas like us is, here what we are talking is, the verse says that with innumerable faces and mouths turned towards both the armies, the Lord is swallowing up the warriors, the kings, and the great men from both the sides in an endless stream. What is Krishna trying to tell Arjuna here is, in me, the past, present, future, everything is there. And Kalosmi, this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that I am the time principle. And remember, this yuddha or this battle is for dharma. They're fighting for righteousness here, dharma kshetre. So when the battle is for dharma, the universe already has decided the outcome of this battle. Here the Lord is saying that I have already killed all of them. Please see, here the battle has not even started when Lord was showing up this form. He's saying, I've already killed all of them. The battle is won. You are victorious. Victory has been given to you. Now what you have to do is, you just be the instrument in my hands and just go and do what you are supposed to do. Whatever is your role play, just do that. The result is already taken care of. The universe has already declared the results in your favor. So this is a central message of Gita, actually, if we look into it, that you just do whatever you have to do. The results are already taken care. Lord has already done everything for us. Yesterday, Dr. Sundar sent a beautiful message saying that create the effect and all else follows. For people who are into this jnana, if we understand that we are Sachidananda Swarupa and stay with that happiness, everything else will fall into place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Radha, for a nice explanation. You pitched in a last minute for Dr. Komal. Apeksha, verse 31, please.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. Go ahead.
आख्याय में को भवान उग्र रूपा नमो अस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद विज्ञातु में छामि भवन्तम आदयम नाहि प्रजानामि तवः प्रवर्तित. So here, this is a very simple verse where Arjuna is dwelling into two fundamental questions, which we will see further. It's a very simple, nice verse and very much relatable to all. So before I start the explanation, I would just like to say, Swamiji has already, told us many times that when Arjuna sees the Vishwarupa, three stages follow in him. First is of wonderment. Second is of that fear, the bhaya that comes when he sees the, Virata Rupa. And the third, which we will be reading in the subsequent verses, will be of bhakti and surrender, but that's later. So we are talking about the second stage here, where he is in fear. So Arjuna is asking the fundamental question to God here. Oh God, please tell me, who are you? Are you the pleasant one, or are you this fierce, the terrible fierce form that I've just seen? I'm really frightened. You are even worse than the worst anyone could have imagined. Akhyai me, he tells, Ugra Rupa is the fierce form he's talking about. And then he says, Akhyai me, he says, please tell me, because now I have gotten the fundamental doubt after seeing this terrible form of yours. And this we can relate it to each and every one of us, wherein whenever we see something bad in the world, or the COVID situation that has happened, or anything, any worse thing coming in picture, or the China thing that just happened, we always ask, where is God? Why has God created all this? Why can't there always be a goody things? Whenever any problem arises, our problems, we become philosophers, and our thinking goes towards why so much misery is there, why can't God create a very calm and peaceful world with good people. And Arjuna is also thinking like that, and he's just asking, please tell me, I have got these fundamental doubts. Who are you? What is your function? The pravartitam, he's asking, what is your function? What is your pravarti? So this is the general nature of human being, which is depicted through Arjuna. That problem has come, so he has gone back. And normal human beings are like, if any problem comes, we'll think of Gita, or we'll think of a guru, and we'll ask for solution. So here he is like, he's asking, Ugra Rupa Bhavan Kaha Akhyai, please tell me, I'm not able to see this frightening form, I am terrified. O gracious one, Devavara, the greatest, the supreme Lord, please be gracious. Prasida means the gracious. Please be gracious, please cool down, please show me a pleasant form of yours. My basic question to you, two questions that I want to ask you is, Bhavantamadayam Vigyatu Michhami, which is, I would like to ask you, who are you? I really want to clearly understand who are you. Tavaha pravartatam na prajanami. I do not know what your function is, and please tell me, is just this Virat form that I've seen of you swallowing every person, is that your real function, or is there something else to it? So Krishna is very happy here. As Swamiji has also said, Krishna becomes very happy because these are the two basic questions that every human being should be asking, that who is God, who is Lord, and what is his function? When you go that deep, that is when you start getting the real answer. And in the subsequent verses, Bhagwan, Lord Krishna will be answering that in a very beautiful manner. I'll not explain that, but he has very beautifully explained, who am I? Am I this fierce form? No. Am I this pleasant form? No. Then who am I? We'll see the answers in the subsequent verses. So that's it. And I'll just do the translation word by word also, so that people understand. Kaha Bhavana, who are you? Ugra Rupa, with this fierce form. Akhyai me, tell me. Devavara, O Supreme Lord. Nama Astu, salutation to you. Prasiddha, be gracious. Ichhami Vigyatum, I desire to know. Bhavantam Adhyam, you the primal one. He indeed. Na Prajanami, I do not know. Tav Pravartatam, your function. Who are you with this fierce form? Tell me, O Supreme Lord. Salutation be to you, be gracious. I desire to know you, the primal one. Indeed, I do not know your function. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Apeksha. That's it. This is the real message of this verse. It is very nice to see God when everything is very beautiful. When there are real difficulties in life, to be able to see God in our failure. As Tagore had said, let me not be a coward, feeling your mercy in my successes alone, but let me find the grasp of your hand in my failure. If Sukha is the prasada of the Lord, Dukkha can be the Mahaprasada. Now that takes a lot of courage. And this is what this chapter of Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana, to be able to see that everything happens through the will of God. And if I am not able to accept it, the problem is with my failure to accept it and not to see the higher picture. This is the real learning that we come from this chapter.
Yeah, and also, sir, just one thing which I would want to add, which will come in the subsequent verse, which I found very interesting, was Swamiji says, whenever, good things happen, we should accept it, we should enjoy it. It's okay to enjoy. But when bad thing happens, you have to just have a shift in attitude and accept it as it like one papam has reduced from your, prarabdha karma. So if you think like that, then the life becomes easy rather than thinking why this suffering, why I am the sufferer. Think like you have reduced one papam from your, account of prarabdha karma that you have.
Sure. Good point. Dr. Sanjay, let us listen to the answers of Shri Krishna.
Good evening to all of you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My verse is the 32nd verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Kalo asmi lokasya chaya krat pravaddo lokansma hartumiha pravattaha rete api tvam na bhavishyanti sarve yevasthita prattinikeshu yodah. I will just give the meaning first, and then we'll go a bit of description to come back to the individual word meaning again. The Lord says, I'm the mighty time, the destroyer of the world. I'm proceeding to destroy the people here. All the warriors who are arrayed in both the armies will cease to exist even without you. It's a very, very interesting verse and has, to my understanding, a lot of scientific connotations as well, which is, being depicted by Oppenheimer in his later on expression about the great, atomic bomb explosion, where he quotes this verse saying that I have become the Kala. And also you can see him crying, doing and saying that. Arjuna, who thought so far that Krishna is his friend, when he sees his mighty form, he comes to understand that what he is Vishwarupam. And then he tries to understand his real nature. And Lord Krishna describes himself as mighty time principle, which is an answer to Arjuna's question in the previous verse just now discussed. Who are you? After seeing the Vishwarupam, Krishna says, I'm the creator. I'm the maintainer, the Sthiti, Laya, and Pralaya, and the destroyer of the universe. Interestingly, the time principles is of consequence only when the universe gets manifested, because the time starts when the universe became manifest. And this is also accepted by the science. Then Arjuna also asked one question about what is your pravritti? What's your nature? And Krishna responds by saying that at this time, my intention is to destroy these armies on both sides. So he, the creator of the time principle, here has to be considered the destroyer, and those who are standing to fight, Lokaschaya Krata. Vedanta also talks about these two time principles, and this is a relative phenomena, and you can understand it two ways. It is also described as Vyavaharika Kalatattvam and Paramarthika Kalatvattam. As we said and discussed, that time is an integral principle of existent universe, where things happen on one hand, and in the non-existent universe, when the pralayam takes place, there is no time. Time stops there. The time has got nothing relative to be able to be appreciated, because for us, time is in the form of sun comes in the morning, we think it's morning, then the afternoon happens, and then the night happens, and the time goes on. So time sees these changing patterns, which your mind understands to be a relative principle. But when the destruction takes place, when the pralayam takes place, everything merges into this great entity, which is the Brahman, which is what Krishna represents at this moment. To understand that state in the relative world, one has to have that jnanam, especially the Atma Jnanam or the self-knowledge. And here Krishna says, Aham Kalasmi, which is in the terms of relative existence, which is Vyavaharika Drishtya. So if you see in the day-to-day transactional world, he is the Kalatvatvam. The time is in him. But when he goes to the Paramarthika Drishtya, he becomes Kalatit, which is beyond time principle. Pravadha here means I'm activated now, and that is his pravritti now. It's going to engage in Lokan Iha Samhritam. I'm going to destroy the army on both sides, whether they fight, whether you fight or not. So let's go to the meaning. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Asmi, I am the mighty time, Lokachaya Krata, destroyer of the world, and I am proceeding to destroy Lokan Iha, the people here, Sarve Yodha, all the warriors who are present here. Avastita means who are standing here. Pratyanikeshu means in both the armies, and they will cease to exist. Na bhavishyanti api Ritvam, even without you. So the Lord says, I am the mighty time, the destroyer of the world. I am proceeding to destroy the people here. All the warriors who are arrayed in both the armies will cease to exist even without you. Therefore, Arjuna, you get up and fight. And this is what will come in the subsequent verses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for giving a nice overview of the concept of time. Once Jesus was asked, how will heaven be like? And spot on the answer was, there will be no time. So are we talking about Vyavahara or are we talking about Paramarthika? In Paramarthika, there is something called eternity. There is nothing called time. And as you rightly said, from the time you wake up till the time you sleep, there is time. And when you fall asleep, you come to timelessness. It is a big topic to think and understand. We will proceed to Dr. Vasumati, verse 33.
Yeah, Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labasva jitva shatrun bungsha rajya samruddham mayai vete nihataha purvameva nimittamatram bhava savyasachin. The Tatparya is, therefore, you do rise and win glory, conquering foes, enjoy the affluent kingdom. These warriors stand already slain by me. Be you only an instrument, Arjuna. The first line needs no interpretation other than the plain understanding as to what Lord Krishna advises Arjuna. The bottom line of what Arjuna needs to do: rise, win glory, conquer the foes, and as a consequence, enjoy the affluent kingdom. Pretty straightforward. The core of the shloka is in the second line, where Lord Krishna is saying, I have already killed. He says, I'm going to destroy all the warriors or soldiers belonging to both the sides because Kalam has come. Their prarabdha is over and therefore they have to die according to the law of karma. Lord gives Arjuna an opportunity to become his instrument in order to accomplish this end. Lord Krishna made a crucial statement, Nimitta matram bhava. May you simply become my instrument. These people are already dead and gone. Swami Param says that this statement of the Lord should not be construed as total absence of free will for humans. It is always a combination of free will and fate. Both these factors contribute. Every moment of the future is caused by the interaction between fate and free will. In one particular context, free will may be prominent. It will suppress the fate. In another particular context, it might be the reverse. Shastra says, never opt for fatalism. Accept fate, accept free will, and understand that our future is determined by fate and free will together. We are one of the contributing factors too. By our prayers, we try to influence the fate, and by our planning, we try to contribute to our will. Then comes the question, why did Krishna say, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin? Why did he say to be an instrument in the hands of the Lord? What does it mean to become an instrument? In the case of human beings, becoming the instrument in the hands of the Lord is following a dharmic course of action because Bhagavan controls the world through dharma. Bhagavan harmonizes the world through dharma. And when I use my free will to be in alignment with dharma, because every time I have to choose, make a choice, I can go either by dharma or I can go by my raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha tells you, do this, don't do that. Therefore, every time we have a choice, we can go according to our raga dvesha or we can go according to the dharma shastra. When my life is governed by dharma shastra, when my free will is in alignment with dharma shastra, I become the instrument of the Lord. Here Arjuna himself is facing a conflict. Dharma shastra says Arjuna has to fight this war. Like as it's mentioned in verse 31 in chapter 2, Sarva dharmamapi chavekshya na vikampitum arhasi dharmardi yuddha shreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. According to dharma, Arjuna's duty is to fight the war because Kshatriya has to fight for the sake of dharma. In fact, Arjuna has come to the battlefield for that purpose alone. But before he started the fight, his Raga Dvesha came and tells that after all, Bhishma and Drona are my kith and kin. Then again in verse 4 of chapter 2, it says, Katam Bhishma Maham Sankye Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishu Bihi Pratiyotsami Pujarha Varisudhana. Arjuna faces a conflict because he has a free will, he has a choice. He has to choose between his knowledge of dharma that says that you have to fight the war, but his attachment tells not to fight the war. Therefore, there's a conflict between the conscience and the attachment. And what is becoming the instrument of the Lord here? Krishna tells, do not go by your raga dvesha. Then what do you go by? You go by the dharma. And when you go by dharma, you're going by the will of the Lord, because dharma is God's will. So my free will is now aligned to dharma. My free will is not gone. It is aligned with God's will. And when my free will is aligned with God's will, I become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Then this statement is not saying you do not have free will. This statement tells Arjuna, may you align your will to my will. In short, follow dharma. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Vasumati, for giving a very nice clarification on this verse, because this is one of the most misunderstood verses, which says that we have absolutely no free will and we are instruments in the hands of God, and everything that happens is the will of God. And this can be easily construed. And Swami Param, who is a champion of free will, he has evaluated, and you have nicely brought it out, that the glory of a human being is to exert your free will. But remember, there is also a concept of fate, and it depends upon which of these two are more powerful. Ramana in the Saddarshanam has said this discussion on free will and fate is a laughable matter. Of course, he's talking from a Paramarthika angle, and from a Paramarthika angle, none of these things matter. But in Vyavahara, Swami Param is very clear, as Dr. Vasumati has said, although there is a very strong fate which drives our lives, let us always see to what extent we will use our free will. That is why he loves that expression. Give me the courage to change the things I can, accept that which I cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference. Vidya, verse 34, please.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Dronam cha bhishmam jayadratham cha karnam tathanyanapi yodha viran maya hatastvam jahima vyatishtaha yudhyasva jetasi rane sapatnan. In this verse, Lord Krishna advises Arjuna to choose the course of action in keeping with the law of karma or the law of dharma. He says, time has come for all these people for disappearing from the earth according to their dharma or the law of karma. They are the Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, who are Yodha Viran, as well as the others belonging to both sides of the army. Lord Krishna gave an advice that whenever an individual acts according to the dharma, then his individual will he has surrendered to dharma. Dharma here means the teaching given by the Lord, and therefore dharma can be taken as the will of the Lord. Lord's teaching here is that Arjuna has a free will, and free will can choose a course of action based on raga dvesha or based on dharma. Arjuna's raga dvesha tells to run away from the battle because he is attached to Bhishma and Drona. Arjuna's free will has got two aspects. His raga dvesha tells him, don't fight the battle. It is better to go to the forest and live on bhiksha. At the same time, his dharma jnanam tells that the dharmic course of action is fighting the dharma yuddham. Arjuna's free will has got two courses of action, raga dvesha based renunciation of the war or dharma based fighting of the war. Krishna's advice is, if Arjuna goes by his raga dvesha, then he is abusing his free will, which will lead to his downfall, which is his choice. Then Lord cannot help if a person has decided to have a downfall. Therefore, Lord Krishna is requesting Arjuna to use his free will properly, which means even though this war is a bitter war, even though the duty is an unpleasant duty, dharma yadi yuddhascharyanat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Surrendering to the will of the Lord is the real devotion. Here, Karma yoga and bhakti is merging, because a true karma yogi has to act according to dharma, which means every karma yogi has surrendered his free will to the will of the Lord. Therefore, every karma yogi is a real bhakta. Tvam jahi. It is very difficult. Even Drona is Arjuna's guru. He is in the adharmic side. Therefore, it is painful, but Arjuna should never go by his emotions. He should not go by Manomaya Kosha, but has to go by the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Discrimination should dominate and not impulse. Maya Hatan means the law of karma or the law of dharma has indicated their death, who are already destroyed by Lord Krishna. So, Lord Krishna's advice is to kill them. Ma Vyatishtaha. Don't grieve over this, which are the facts of life, even though Arjuna may not like this. Yudhyasva. May you take to this battle, because you are born a Kshatriya. As a Kshatriya, his duty is Kshatat Trayate iti Kshatriyaha. Saving the society from adharma is the duty of a Kshatriya. Kshatam means adharma. Jetasi. Certainly you will defeat your enemies. Sapatnan means enemies. Certainly you will defeat your enemies in the war. Arjuna had expressed his doubt in the second chapter. Yadva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu yaneva hatva na jijivisha mas te vasthitaha pramukhe dhartarashtraha. I do not even know whether we will defeat them or whether they will defeat us. But Lord Krishna says, you are going to win the war, not because you are powerful, but because dharma is on your side. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Vidya, for a nice, giving us a nice message from this verse. The message essentially is, when there is a dilemma, whenever you have to take unpleasant decisions, then the choice is towards raga and dvesha. But then at those moments, we completely forget dharma, adharma. So whenever there is a conflict, remember, let the decision not be done by raga and dvesha, but the Sri Krishna principle in you, the higher principle, yatra yogeshwara Krishna. Let the higher principle, that is dharma, decide. And then your decision becomes very clear. Sudha, the next verse, verse 35.
Hari Om, Doctor. Am I audible?
Very clear, go ahead.
So, when Krishna answered Arjuna's question, how did Arjuna respond? That's what we are going to see in this verse, as reported by Sanjaya. Let us look into the shloka and its meaning. Sanjaya uvacha yetat vachanam keshavasya Krutanjalirve pamana kiriti Namaskritva bhuya evaha krishnam Sagadgadam bhita bhita pranamya. The meaning goes like this. Sanjaya said, having heard these words of Krishna, the trembling Arjuna saluted and bowing down with great fear, flattering, spoke to Krishna once again with joined palms. Why Krishna was trembling now and searching for the words to respond to Krishna? Because here Arjuna has now understood that Krishna is not responsible for the sufferings or enjoyments of the people. Krishna is only karma phala data, exactly like a judge. Judge is not responsible if a person suffers punishment in the jail, but the suffering is the result of his own action. So Bhagavan has only worked for the karma phalam to reach him, just as the judge's role is to make the law of karma work properly. And therefore, Lord's compassion does not mean he will alter the karma phalam. His compassion is in the form of the maintenance of the law of karma. The law of karma should go on for the survival of the world. It cannot be altered for the sake of one person. Swami Paramatmananda gives an example. Just as the traffic signals should be functioning, even though one person may miss the train because of the traffic signal. Arjuna understood the Lord is not partial or cruel. The job of the Lord is the maintenance of dharma. We have also seen in Upadesha Sara, it goes like this. Karturagnaya prapyate phalam. That is, the fruits of all actions are attained and controlled by the Lord or the Creator. Therefore, if my papa karma brings suffering to me, I should change my attitude in accepting the suffering without complaining or cursing the Lord as unjust or cruel. Here we have already seen, Apeksha has told us that instead of crying whenever we have some problem, let us get a sort of relief. One papam is been reduced from my list. So that attitude will make us face the activity boldly. This Arjuna understood. So now the attitude of Ascharyam and Bhayam are replaced by Bhakti. This is called the surrender of the free will to the law of Ma. Now we have seen the free will has been wonderfully explained by Dr. Vasumati. So now Sanjaya reports, Keshavasya etat vachanam shrutva. Arjuna understood the law of karma very clearly now. Kiriti Vepamanaha. Kiriti is another name for Arjuna. So Vepamanaha, he is trembling because as an individual, I am subject to the law of karma. I can never escape. Whether I like it or not, I have to undergo the consequences. Better learn to like it. This is called surrender. Therefore, Vepamanaha, trembling Arjuna, did namaskaram. Bhuya evaha Krishnam namaskritva. So, the namaskar indicated the surrender of the will to the law of karma. So, having done this namaskar, Bhuya evaha, again and again, Bhita Bhitaha, Arjuna was extremely frightened after listening to the law of karma and the inescapability of the same. But when bhakti ripens, that bhayam is gone. And I learned to accept, which is indicated by namaskara. Sagadgadam, with choked voice, as Arjuna is not able to swallow or assimilate, because Arjuna's maturity is artificial maturity given by Krishna. Therefore, with choked voice, with extreme panic, Arjuna repeatedly did namaskaram and addressed the Lord in the following verses, which we'll be seeing now. Thank you, Dr. Hari Om.
Thank you, Sudhavani, for giving us an answer to all the difficulties in the world. The only answer is be a bhakta, be a parama bhakta, and then whatever God wills, it becomes easy to accept. We go to Nilima. Nilima,
Yes.
verse 36, please.
Hey, Gurudev. In previous verse, we have seen Sanjaya hinting Dhritarashtra that Pandavas are going to win the war. They are going to get the kingdom. Kiriti, Arjuna, prostrating to Lord Krishna. Sagat Kadam, with throat choked with emotion, trembling with feelings born out of reverence, respect, and devotion. This present passage, containing the following 11 subsequent stanzas, represent one of the most beautiful universal prayer, which is the essence of all scriptures of the world, irrespective of any religion, revering and respecting to that supreme intelligence, which is behind all this beautiful scientific and cosmic world of things and beings. Arjuna told the following things to Lord Krishna. It is the second wave of Arjuna's glorification of Krishna. Arjuna Vacha. Sthane Rushikesha tava prakirtya jagat prahushyata anurajyate cha rakshamsi bhitani dishotravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha sangah. Anvaya. Sthane. It is appropriate, Rushikesha, O Krishna, Tava, thy name, Prakirtya, to be praised, Jagat, by the universe, Prahashyati, is delighted, Anurajatecha, rejoices, Rakshamsi, Rakshasas Pitani in fear, Disha to all quarters, Dravanti, fly. Sarve Siddha Sangha, all the hosts of Siddhas, Namasyanticha, bow to thee. Bhavartha, it is right, O Krishna, that the world delights and rejoices in thy glory, and Rakshasas fly in fear to all quarters, and all the hosts of Siddhas bow to thee. Sthane, it is appropriate to glorify Lord, because Rishikesha, Lord is the enlivener of all our sense organs, mind and intellect. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. He enlivens everything. Rishikesha, the Lord, he resides in the heart, which is the mind and intellect of all beings as a supreme intelligence. So only it is said, Hrudayakohara madhye kevalam brahma matram, which says this higher principle which gives consciousness to eyes to see and ears to hear, who enlivens mind and intellect, Diyo Yona Prachodayat. So, Sthane, it is very appropriate, Prakritya, to praise such Lord by the Jagat, people of the world. Teha Prahirshyati, rejoice, Anurajyate, or delighted by doing so, because the Lord Rishikesha is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Parame, supreme, Vyoman, space. It is a supreme space, is the Utpatti, Sthiti, Laya, Sthana for body, sense organs, mind and intellect. We can experience this when we go to sleep every night, though unconsciously back to our source. We feel very delighted. Arjuna understood Lord is the very vitalizer, the very enlivener of all activities in us. When the people prostrate and glorify Lord, they feel in their mind a great rising waves of joy. They feel rejoicing and delighted. It is sthane appropriate that the Lord is the object of adoration, love and respect, who is the primal cause even for Brahma, creator of universe. Rakshamsi bhitani disho dravanti. When the mind turns towards higher, all the negative tendencies run away, and the mind is no more identified with ego and selfish desires, and the mind delights and rejoices in the wondrous experience of quietude, satvikata, quietness of the mind. Sarve namasyanti cha siddha sangaha. Even the siddhas who have achieved the highest and who are still in heaven, all those sages, masters and rishis, all of them are equally prostrating as all other devotees at his altar at the feet of the Lord. It is very natural that the people of kingdom who accept the sovereignty of their king delight in glorifying him, and who harbor enmity towards the king fear him. So too in the world, saints glorify the Supreme Lord, and the demonic personalities become frightened of Lord. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Nilima, for a nice explanation. From here onwards are the group of verses that have been selected by Venkatesh Prasad. Let us study these verses more thoroughly, because ultimately it will help us to bring out bhakti within us, and that is the answer to all the difficulties that we are subject to be able to accept. The last verse today will be explained by Dr. Ahalya. Dr. Ahalya, please.
Namaste. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. By now, having experienced the Vishwarupa, Arjuna gets completely converted, both in his faith and in his understanding. The various emotions of wonderment, amazement, reverence, fear, and devotion are all painted in mellifluous phrases by sage Vyasa here. In this 37th shloka, Arjuna wonders, in continuation with the 36th, how there can be some people who fail to recognize the greatness of creation and creator. Just as the fear in Arjuna, after seeing the Lord as destructive Kala Tattva that was explained all along, has by now receded, and he is filled with devotion, and he says thus, Kasmat cha te na nameran mahatman gariyase brahmanopyadikartre ananta devesha jagannivasa Tvamaksharam sadasat param yat. Filled with devotion and humility, Arjuna says, O great Lord, why would they not salute you who are greater than even Brahma, the first creator? O limitless one, who is the ruler of gods, the abode of the universe, you are the cause and you are the effect. Also, you are that imperishable truth which is beyond both. So goes the meaning of the shloka. The word by word meaning, Kasmat chate na nameran. Why would they not salute you? He is now wonderstruck. Why is this happening? When we look at the various aspects around us, the beauty of nature, the heart-wrenching sufferings, the great laws that govern the universe, which have been in operation for thousands of years. In fact, an hour of National Geographic probably would reveal the secrets, the beauty of the wild and nature. A small blade of green grass can evoke a reaction. Where did the color and the smell of it come from? Was it from sun? Was it from water, mud, from the root of it? Or is it just the very physiology of my seeing it? In fact, TBG says, Trudake hasirelliyadu, berinade, manninade, dinapanade, chandranade, neerinade, ninade. So many aspects of one small thing. Tani tanipa ninna kannina punyavo nodu, gunake karana onde mankutima. Further, DVG puts it again to the Brahmavastu. When we look at every aspect of creation, how can we not be in sheer awe of it? When that wonder sets in, how is it not possible to offer a sincere salutation to thee? For anyone who appreciates the glory as Vishwarupa, the totality, bowing down is a natural instinct. Einstein said, the more I study creation, I can't but surrender or appreciate the glory of Lord. Tagore says, when one knows thee, then alien there is none, then no door is shut. Oh, grant me my prayer that I may never lose the bliss of the touch of the one in the play of many. One Rupa manifesting in many also as Vishwarupa. Jisiki rachana itni sundar, wo kitna sundar hoga is what a bhakta feels. Arjuna wonders how some people can't do namaskara. Swamiji says, it is just that they lack the faculty to appreciate the aesthetics of creation. Just as one can't appreciate music or poetry, they have to be sympathized for the lack of it. Gariyase, Brahmano Pyadikartre. You are the creator of even Brahma, Brahmaji here. Brahma here is the creator and not the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The Vedanta view of that is Brahma is Srishti Sukshma, Samashti Sukshma Sharira, and Krishna's Vishwarupa is greater than that Brahma. Anantaha, you are the infinite one because time and space exist in you and you are beyond time and space. Desha Kala Tita. Devesha, O Lord of all gods. Jagannivasa, you are the abode of the universe. You do not live in the universe lives in you. Tvamaksharam, Akshara is the imperishable one. Tvamaksharam, Sadasat Paramyat. You are the cause, Sad Asat. You are the cause and you are the effect. Sadasat Yat. Karya Karana Siddhanta is a very important doctrine of the Sanatana Dharma, which leads us to many vadas like the Satkarya Vada, Vivarta Vada, including our Karma Paka Siddhanta. As we heard all the other speakers say, it's not easy, it's not easily tangible, this one. And when we suffer, we wonder, why am I suffering? And so on. In fact, the virus is him and the vaccine is him. We don't get that idea all the time. It's how we look at it in the middle matters. In fact, Bhagavan scans us from the Janmantaras and bestows the pala that we deserve, the karma pala data as was mentioned. To accept these ideas, we need faith, knowledge, detachment and grace. In fact, Chinmayananji puts it in another way. Generally, it is easy to see through the windows of finite objects for the Karya Karana Sadasad aspect. It's easy to see through the windows of finite objects, but difficult to recognize the entire universe as one reality, the self, the me, which is very true. Yat Param, and that which is beyond them, both Sadasat and the Aksharam. The Lord being both the manifest and unmanifest, and also has a status that transcends both these conditions. In fact, that which makes him both manifest and unmanifest possible is the light of awareness, the pure consciousness. Arjuna is invoking that in these stanzas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ahalya, for a very nice poetic description of a beautiful bhakti verse. These last two verses that Nilima and Dr. Ahalya explained, and the next set of verses which we are going to study the whole of, that will be on the next class on Wednesday. I would like each one of us to study them very thoroughly, because we will be chanting these instead of the Gita Dhyana shlokas for the next so many classes. At the same time, we will get the greater import of word-to-word meaning, so that we are not just chanting them, we will know the deeper meaning. Ultimately, these are the seeds of bhakti, and if there is bhakti in our hearts, it becomes easy to accept all the good things and all the bad things for the world. With that, we will conclude today's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sincere thanks to all the speakers.